Good evening and welcome to the June meeting of the Committee of Adjustments. Before we begin, I'll ask Ms. Lalonde to read our territorial acknowledgement.
Thank you. We have gathered in Wilmot Township on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga peoples. We also want to acknowledge the importance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the Europeans arrived. It characterizes our collective responsibility to each other and Mother Earth. We should take only what we need, leave enough for others, and keep the dish clean. By acknowledging this covenant and the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, we are reminded of our important connection to this land where we live, learn, and work together as a community.
Thank you. I would like to start by introducing our committee this evening. To my right is Mr. Miller, Ms. Kohler, Mr. Roth, and Ms. Lalonde. As well with us this evening is Mr. Andrew Martin, Manager of Planning for the Township. And my name is Tyler Bowman, Chair of this committee. We are an independent body appointed by Wilmot Township Council. We have the power to make minor changes to existing zoning and zoning regulations and to approve some changes to existing non-conforming uses and to give consent. Each applicant will be notified in writing of the decision within 10 days. With this decision will be instructions on how it can be appealed. Any decision made by this committee can be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal, who will then hold a meeting and make a final decision. Only the applicant and certain prescribed agencies or public agencies can appeal the committee's decision. If the decision on a minor variance is not appealed, it becomes final and binding after 20 days from the date of this meeting. If the decision on a consent is not appealed, it becomes final and binding after 20 days from the date the decision is mailed. The format for the meeting will be as follows. Mr. Martin will introduce the application. The applicant will then be invited to come forward and add any additional information if they choose. Following this, anyone in the audience will have the opportunity to speak for or against the application. The committee will then have the opportunity to ask any questions of the applicant, and the committee will then make a final decision. Before we start, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Seeing none, I'll ask Mr. Martin to introduce our first applicant for the evening. Application.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Application A1325 is made for a property at 248 Snyders Road East in Baden. This application proposes to increase the maximum height of an accessory structure. The applicant is looking at replacing a current detached building with a new structure, increasing the existing side yard setback to be in compliance with the bylaw, however increasing the height to accommodate a second-story loft. So the variance would increase the maximum height from 4.5 meters to 5.7 meters and up to 2 stories, essentially to allow for a new structure. There's an existing building on the neighboring property of a similar size and scale in terms of height, and there were no objections or concerns raised from anyone during circulation, and staff recommend approval.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak on behalf of the application? No? Thank you. No one online? Anyone in the audience here want to speak to? Okay. Any questions for the applicant from the committee? Seeing none, could I get a motion to approve this application? Moved by Ms. Lalonde, seconded by Ms. Kohler. All in favor? And that motion or application is carried. Second one.
Submission A1425 is made for property 1738 Snyders Road East. This application essentially looks at reconfiguring which is the main building, which is an additional dwelling unit on the property. The proposal is to construct a new house on the property further back from the road than the existing dwelling. Current regulations require the smaller home or the additional dwelling unit to be no closer to the road than the main building. In this instance, they'd like to retain that house, so the variance is required to allow for what would be the additional dwelling unit to be closer to the road than the main building. We've seen this on several occasions on larger properties like this. Staff certainly don't have any issues or concerns, and no concerns were raised through circulation of the application.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak on behalf of the application?
I think you covered it pretty well. We appreciate your time.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience want to speak for or against? Committee members, do we have any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, could I get a motion from the committee to approve this application? Moved by Mr. Roth, seconded by Ms. Lalonde. All in favor? And that motion is carried as well. And for our final application tonight.
All right, submission A1525 is made for property 3171 Bleams Road. This variance deals with the area allotted to be utilized for a farm-related occupation, so an existing business on this property that's been there since about 1994. There's been some expansion since then, but to date, there's been the ability to operate within that 0.2 hectare maximum of the zoning bylaw. The applicants are proposing to construct a new building on the property to replace an existing barn. There's an image attached to the report that highlights the area generally utilized for the business. Areas are used for both the business and the rest of the farming operation. However, to provide flexibility for the current addition and future expansions, staff are recommending increasing that to 0.5 hectares. We don't see any concerns with that. The operation of the business has not been problematic or subject to concerns previously. So the variance would increase that area and allow for the distance that is proposed from the new building to Bleams Road to be permitted as well. So with that said, no concerns were raised through circulation of the application, and staff recommend approval.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak on behalf of the application? No? Is there any questions from committee members? Seeing none, could I get a motion to approve this application? Moved by Mr. Miller, seconded by Ms. Kohler. All in favor? And that motion is carried as well. We have our last order of business is to approve our minutes from last night, our May meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Ms. Lalonde, seconded by Ms. Kohler. Can I get all in favor? And that those are carried. And that concludes our meeting for this evening. Thank you for attending and putting the application in.